There we go. I believe everyone can hear us now. Welcome into a Friday afternoon. We're dealing with a few technical issues, guys. Bear with us. We'll get that sorted out. But welcome into what should be a pretty good afternoon as far as the overall market is concerned. Still trying to find a direction here following what has been a very, very exciting week overall. We've been dealing with inflation data. We've been dealing with the Fed. Fed Chair Powell coming up again next week as well. Going to be testifying in Washington in front of the Senate Banking Committee on Wednesday. So we'll get more action as far as comments from the Fed is concerned. This came across during lunchtime. Was sitting here watching Microsoft. This is Microsoft up here not doing anything, but I was sitting here watching Microsoft when this came across. Chuck Schumer saying today that they're going to unveil AI regulation framework on June 21st. That was about right there. So there was a bit of a downtick for Microsoft shares when that came across. But interesting, maybe more political intervention to come. There was some news on this one as well. Genius Brands down 2%. This big volume spike to the upside came when there was a tweet. Actually, Shaq retweeted that he is now going to do a collab with Genius Brands. So all he had to do was retweet it, and the algos jumped all over that. So no follow through, though, whatsoever for Genius Brands. If you missed it this morning, this was the main headline on the political side of, or not political side, but economic side of things this morning. Michigan consumer sentiment coming out at a 4-month high, sending the initial move overall was actually a little bit higher. We saw dollar downside as a result. It's been a very negative week for the DXY. Frank Caverna coming up in about 40 minutes or so. We'll talk to him, get his take on what happened with the Fed this week, get his take on inflation data, get his take on what to expect now looking out towards July. Remember, we're going to get essentially 3 months in a row worth of data without an inflation or without an interest rate hike before July. So that'll be the next chance they have. Meanwhile, this is how the S&P 500 is looking currently. About the same as the last time I showed you this board. We're dead flat, however, for the S&P right now, 0.01. About as mixed as you're going to see this board. Equal right across everything as far as gainers and decliners, guys. There's really no significant standout groups or individual names at this point on either side of the board. We'll see if we can't get some momentum going throughout the afternoon here. Let's jump into a few things we were dealing with this morning. One of those was this, trying to roll over as I speak. That is NVIDIA still holding on to 1.5% as far as strength is concerned. It was Morgan Stanley this morning coming out adding NVIDIA as a top pick instead of, or maybe in favor of, AMD. Max is back on a Friday afternoon. Let's get going, guys.
Yeah, now it's our top pick. You know, like after they've captured 80% of the addressable market in the AI chips arms race, and after it's already run all the way up to 440 from like an $80 bar with a $110 bottom down there. Now it is our top pick, and this is the moment when we believe they're going to take out. I don't know, whatever. It's just not to be cynical or anything, but like, come on, what else are you going to be there? Great day for the market in general. If you're in like a very few number of names, like that's sort of the catch. It's just. There's still an upward trend in NVIDIA. I mean, Intel's kind of showing some strength here as well. Early on, you had things like Lordstown, but overall, it's been an inside day. It is options expiration. I feel like NVIDIA, it seems like it's made a top up here, at least temporary, like a temporary top this afternoon. So I would lean into the idea of popping into some fade short. I don't think this is a situation where you want to be over trading. I only still have Apple. Everything else came out there. We'll talk about some Cava at some point. But yeah, this has been a wild week, and a lot of the fireworks could maybe come in that last hour of the day. You don't want to waste too many bullets at non-key levels, I don't think. I just happen to, NVIDIA really does feel like it's topped out. You can see what happened here at 36, now breaking underneath VWAP. So if this is setting up for anything, I tend to believe I want to be taking a shot at the high of the day. If we get there, maybe for a short. If we break down, I think there's a setup underneath VWAP as well, potentially, for NVIDIA. The more interesting chip name in terms of price it's at right now could be Intel, because it's right back at the high. Just get that one out of the way. I was in this off of VWAP into the high. I basically took 80% of it out, looking for a top-end break, and then got stopped out. I did not re-enter at the bottom. I didn't really think anything of that level at the time. and now you're screaming back up to the high of the day. So Intel's the one that I would say is at the more interesting price level over NVIDIA currently, because you're 5 cents or 10 cents off the high. You have breakout potential, maybe a quick fade off 36.50. A little more activity at that price.
Who could have guessed that on an options day, when the big player's incentive is to close the markets flat, that the markets are closing flat?
No.
Who could have guessed? We couldn't get them to get squeezed to the upside, so I guess everybody looking for a big move loses today. But, you know, something crazy could happen on the close. You never know. Quad witching, big day. Speaking of big stocks at big levels, Microsoft coming right back down to that 345 low of day, exactly as 345 back here somewhere. I am missing some data. I think it was actually right here. But, yeah, so key inflection point potentially for Microsoft at that 345. Does it break down? Does it do a little fail break and come back? I'm thinking mean reversion is the way to go today. So probably if we do a little fail break here on Microsoft, that could be something that I'm watching for. But yeah, that NVIDIA as well. I don't know what to do with that one. I had that 430 level mapped out all day, and you know, just misexecuted on it sadly. But you know, we might see that 430 level back today, later today. I don't know.
It's definitely possible for NVIDIA, but you know, quite frankly, you just want to make sure you pick and choose your spots. Interestingly enough, we were talking with some of the traders in the it's not really like the cafe. It's like our little kitchen back there, and it was like a little powwow. And the next name on board came up for when it was added to the S&P 500, and there was some stories about that. So let's go to Tesla here, Brendo.
Intel trying to work back to the upside as well, and Tesla trying to work back to the upside as well. This was this morning. Wasn't much in the way of news as far as Tesla is concerned. This was this morning, though. There was reports overnight coming out of China suggesting that the plot of land that Elon had his eye on to expand their operations there in Shanghai might be set aside for quote-unquote environmental or environmentally sensitive reasons. So maybe a hurdle here for Tesla in China.
Yeah, and how they're projected by 2020, they are not taking their foot off the gas with respect to capital expenditures and these gigafactories that they're building everywhere. We know that they're building one in Monterrey. They're scoping out sites in Spain for another one, and another one coming out in China that they're trying to do. So no stopping here in terms of expansion.
I mean, wasn't there a story one day this week about France as well? So he's all over the map trying to figure out what to do next. Yeah, Valencia in Spain as well was mentioned. Meanwhile, here's another 2% today for Tesla, guys, when the market couldn't be any flatter.
The market couldn't be any more flat. I don't know. Just gonna throw that. That's me being nitpicky on a Friday. Yeah, Tesla's up that too, but if we don't break out of this range soon, I'm gonna lose my mind here, because you gotta, like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna scalp it off VWAP into 262. I suppose that'd be one way to go. Really, if you didn't have this at the open, which you can plainly tell I didn't, we had other names that were more interested in at the open. And I think that's what you have to do. You got to prioritize. It double bottomed 58. That's about it. If we don't get a break one direction or the other, I think either you're happy scalping inside in the afternoon here on Tesla. That's what it looks like. Maybe VWAP 60s into 61.5, or wait for it to break out. And then the second, like if it takes out 62 and can start a trend, then joining the trend I'd be a little bit happier to do. I guess if it breaks down 60, you look the same in the other direction. But this is what you should be doing in an afternoon where it's range bound. Yes, it's witching. People might be waiting for the close. The market is dead flat. Options expiration. Seems to me that's why I can't break away from 260.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, every $2.50, I believe, is an options price on Tesla. So 260, 250 is where we reject from, and then we're trading basically at 260. I kind of want to see 262 fail break this afternoon to get back down into VWAP. I obviously overtraded Tesla a little bit on the way down, didn't wait for the move to finally exhaust before I started getting long. You know, I was thinking that 260 would hold and we could get, you know, some explosive upside, but obviously market not giving that to us today. I think, you know, if you get 260 this afternoon, maybe, you know, you get the same kind of idea. Like either it's fail breaking 260, fail breaking 262. Those are the only ways that I would execute on it. I'm not taking breakouts on Tesla this afternoon. However, if you did take out that 262 and kind of pull back and hold it really well, maybe you have a chance to get that 265 price later this afternoon. But I would not be betting on that necessarily today based on the move that we saw.
Was the next one on the board there. We were talking earnings this morning. It was a decent report overall, but the headline really had this to do with everything. AI, all the rage once again for Adobe, pointing to not only the software they've already released, but more to come. Sharif, say it ain't so for Adobe.
Yeah, well, no wrong. Fantastic top and bottom line results, excellent guidance. Firefly is all the rave right now. If you're in the digital, I don't know, what do they call these? Photoshop. Excuse me. If you're in the digital creation world, right now, I think it's being used in certain ways in political campaigns. I mentioned it this morning. You can go have a little look at what I said this morning. But yeah, lots of potential for this technology.
Yeah, just on the video editing and audio editing purposes alone. I was just double checking, 39.88% I see off of all-time highs here for Adobe. So still quite a ways to go. I mean, this was one of the ones that got cut in more than half, obviously, from its pre-pandemic highs. But Adobe with a nice move today, guys.
Yeah, see, this is one of the things you really, really want to remember about how when you're coming out of a bear market. Like if you catch longs in some of these types of stocks, you just really want to remember how far they can go before it gets ridiculous. Because when something goes from 700 to 300 and drops that far, suddenly like $50 move to the upside or $100 move to the upside, off the bottom it sounds impressive. Like anytime you talk about 20%, 30%, 50% off the lows, like that's amazing. But you only just got halfway back from that high. Like you essentially fell $400. It wasn't until you got to 500 that you climbed to halfway back. And this is that halfway point here. That being said, this is not a stock that we traded. Oddly enough, there was one trade that we said, oh, this is probably what you want to do with Adobe, bouncing off one of two things here, and it did kind of both of them. There was, some definitely liquidity underneath that 506 area in the aftermarket. The initial push down was right here to 505. That popped to 510. It then broke that, gave you the false break of 500. That came back up and gave you 505, or maybe you hold it to 507. So those were the two trades, either really quickly off the open when it initially bounced down to 505 and gave that one green candle. That was a very fast trade. The better one is when it tested the 500 level. And that's a clear under-over trade. We talk about this all the time. Or at a level like this, it's so easy to see a stock trending down and want to join that trend. But when it's moved that far, you've got to think about all the stops that are underneath 500, especially on a day like today. And if it fails that break, the risk to reward is often going to favor that you take the shot at the long. It comes back above 500. You're stopping out underneath. It's about 499. You're long just above 500. It goes to 505, and you're sitting there with a 5-to-1 trade that's really more realistically like a 3 or 4-to-1 trade based on where you're likely to get out. But you take that all day, every day. I don't love it on a $500 stock, but when we see that, oftentimes we're going to take it on like the Neos of the world or a $50 stock, or you take it on an Apple. But here, if you did it, it was absolute gold. Just gold.
Yeah, what a great little scalp trade there. You get a 1% move out of it. You get $5, 1% move right away. That's
what else do you want?
I mean, what else can you look for on a name like that? We talked about AI this morning as well, C3 AI, when we were talking about Adobe. This one, we were saying, if you want to play AI, why not just play AI? And yeah, that did not happen to the long side today. Adobe or AI just kind of spikes down off the open, then does a little fail break at the high here, and it's trend down all day. We were talking about 45.5, 46 level, kind of bounces, but that's pretty anemic for a bounce trade on this name. So yeah, C3 AI doing the whole fade. So none of the AI names going with. Well, I guess they all kind of did the same thing. All of them faded. Adobe faded, AI faded. So no long trades, no crazy breakout in that space today, sadly.
Check out that promo code, guys, for the weekend. 25% off Trader TV or Trader TV 25 for the weekend for trade ideas. Make sure you take advantage of that if you were involved in the 2-week test drive period, especially. Great opportunity. Cava Group, day number 2 here, coming off a wild debut. Yes, Market Watch is behind a paywall now, I just realized. But a wild debut for the IPO yesterday. Was down 12% today at the lows here. But as you were mentioning, Sharif, great double bottom at the bottom there.
Yeah, good double bottom at 36.5, retracing a VWAP above 40, 40.5. But yeah, the deal-making business has been on hold. I'm talking about the IPO business. That was very clearly reflected in the bank's earnings back in Q1. There was almost nothing in 2022. First among them, I don't know, not that exciting for me, Brenda.
I hope that this kind of opens the door and opens the floodgate maybe for more to come. And I mean, we can get back into it because, as you said, it's been a desert as far as IPOs are concerned for the past couple of years here.
All I gotta say is this: Cava, who is your daddy, and what does he do? Because if you guys remember this, for the first time in 20 years. There was an IPO that I traded it all day without taking a single long. So obviously I didn't make money on Cava yesterday. Even when it was in the money, I was always holding half of it for 40 to break. So I was pretty active with this. Come to my chart for a second so I can show you the mess that I was making with the stock short on Cava yesterday. So it bounced off 40 even. Now obviously some people that are long biased would say, oh, look at the $40 level. Why wouldn't you just defend that and stop out if it goes under? No, that's not how I roll. So I was shorting 42. And then it goes $1 in the money, I'm holding on to half for the break of 40. It busts VWAP, I short it again down into 40. Does not break through. I stop out at the high because I keep on holding half. I reload it and only lose. At that point, I've been short 4 times on the stock. I shorted it again up at this little wick here. Again, it stopped out when I was trying to hold for the home run. So suffice to say, it wasn't any good. However, today it was very simple. If 40 broke, I was shorting the 40 break. One level, one fill, one trade. That's it. I missed out on a 44 breakdown, didn't take that, didn't take a 43, 42, 41, but when it hit that double bottom at 40, it was, I'm not saying it was free money, but it was free money. If you got filled, you couldn't lose. It was instantly, it went from 40, I got the fill, it was 39, 31 on the bid. Not even making it up, I hit buy enter, and I was getting filled in the 30s. It then flushed down from there, I was able to hold some to 36.5. There was no 35 print. I ended up getting trailed out, and it just rejected off VWAP. Like, look at this clean VWAP rejection underneath 40. Had it held a bit above that, I think maybe there could have been a relief rally. It feels to me like this does not want to hold out to that 40 level, and maybe you retest the lows. But I don't think this is probably going to be done next week in terms of having enough volatility and liquidity to want to trade. So either we get some trades in this afternoon. It's got to be off the 40 level as far as I'm concerned. If we're holding beneath it, maybe you can short it. Almost more interesting if it can recover and get above VWAP and make an afternoon run, I'd say.
Yeah, maybe something like that 41 breakout to kind of squeeze some shorts out. You figure that people are probably averaging in up here above 40, saying this stock is going down. I can average in. I'm risking 41 break, or I'm risking whatever this high ends up being as I'm averaging in. So yeah, maybe that could provide something this afternoon. That 45 level yesterday was an absolute money short when it came in. Back through off the initial spike, and like that's where you get the banger short today. That 45 breakdown, 44 breakdown works, 43 breakdown works, and then you're just holding it for that 36 bottom. This was definitely a miss for me today. I decided not to pay attention to it based on the volume, but obviously there was some serious opportunity there, and I think we probably end up in the 20s at some point in the next few weeks on this Cava stock if the IPO price was $23. It doesn't seem like that exciting to me to be up still like almost 100% from its IPO price.
Intel, a couple of things. First of all, a pretty impressive bounce off of yesterday's close essentially for Intel today. Still positive, obviously getting back towards session highs here, but the initial move downside off of this note this morning. Right here, Intel to invest $4.6 billion in new chip plant in Poland. I wanted to show this as well. Germany Schultz to meet with Intel CEO amid intensive talks on a chimp plant. Not chimp plant, but a chip plant for Germany, possibly as well. So Intel just popping these things out.
Or is Germany trying to steal Poland's deal there? No, no evidence of that. But let's look at the technicals, guys, because I talked about this on the midday show. The golden cross has happened on the SMA. Let's go to the chart if you're able to. The golden cross has happened if you're using the 50 and the 200 SMA. I'm using the EMAs, and they're awfully close here, just about to cross. A lot of technical trading systems use these major moving averages, cross, the golden cross, and then the, what's the other one called? The golden cross, and then the other one's the death cross. Thank you.
What's the opposite of golden, I guess? Death?
No idea.
I don't know. Seems extreme. As we said, nice two-way action here today, guys, for Intel.
It was, if you had short off the top, which I wish I did, I was waiting for the breakout of that high on Intel. I had several longs here, and it was like basically like flip a coin, right? Like as long as you were keeping your risk to reward tight, it was okay. I went dip buying off 36. Like the first bounce, you got the under over, like it breaks 36 even. It holds 36.96. We go long into it, it gets up to VWAP, okay, that's great, and then we reload and it stops out. I then try a second long in here, it stops out. I had a quick breakout, but that wasn't really the 36.50, so I didn't really give it a lot of room. Then I just went back into VWAP, it bounced off 20s and played that into 40, so that was good. I held on to like 20%, actually about 15%, and then stopped that out just under break even. And this is where probably, like that's the only real missed opportunity. I was never hunting for 35.6. As a bottom. Like as it got lower, like when it's falling like that, if I was gonna go for a long, I was really starting to think about, you know, down a little closer to 35.30, 35.25, and it just never got there. So once it got going back to the upside, I feel like I missed out on the entire move. Now that it's at the high, I guess I'm back to square one, which was 36.50 break. It never happened. It's still breaking out on the daily, as Sharif already mentioned to you guys, so there's still room for it to go. It just cannot seem to get through this top. If the market makes a fresh bottom and it holds the high, fine, short off this high of the day. But as long as we hold out, the market wants to be sideways or bouncing off support, I don't mind taking a shot at the break. I'll have a tight stop on it anyways. That's what I'm going to do on a Friday, not wanting to overtrade or give back the day, like those types of things. I want to keep it tight to the vest, only try to take the trades to the levels you want. This is a relatively strong stock. If I'm going to take a breakout, it's going to be something strong. It's going to be something at a key level, or it's going to be some ridiculous parabolic flyer that has that just has a decent setup. I mean, that's how you roll. Not that I've seen any of those yet. You never know. The day is young. There's always something in Power Hour that's running on small cap space. But for now, Intel 36.50, it's here in 5 seconds. Well, 5 cents, not 5 seconds.
I just had a look around all of the chip names, and they're all down basically except for Intel, Intel and NVIDIA is still up a little bit, but I mean 1% for NVIDIA seems like nothing these days for whatever reason. We talked about TSM this morning, that 105 level potentially supporting, which it did not at all, just kind of blew right through there, and pretty much just trading below all day, now kind of wicking the level around a bunch. But yeah, TSM, AMD made a big move down, so all these chip names kind of just getting smoked today, and Intel, the top dog on the day, definitely not on the years, but
definitely not on the year.
Every dog has its day, I guess.
Well, the saying goes, like, even the sun shines on a dog's ass.
Yes.
Sometimes. That's the line. I mean, as far as I know, that's what it is. Okay. Not that Intel, look, man, I own Intel on my long term, but the play for Intel to me had nothing to do with, oh, can they catch AMD, back when, get some of their data center and get some of their market share back. Like, no, I want them taking, like when I bought this off of the 25 level a couple of times, and when I even had some earlier and had some called away, was simply, can you take money out of TSM's market share, right? Can all of a sudden, can you have Europe and the US try to have less of a reliance, quite frankly, on chips fabbed or made in Taiwan? So, I mean, NVIDIA's business could be huge. Like, what would happen if suddenly NVIDIA's business went over to Intel, and then they took a big dent out of the fab market for them, and then even got a little bit back out of their market share from AMD. Suddenly that looks pretty rosy in 2 or 3 years. So to me, that's the bet being made, because I don't know how much I believe in the turnaround without that. And it's been pretty good, but I think that's something that plays out in the next few years. For now, I'm just happy to join the trend, as it seems like it's breaking out.
Yeah, good breakout there. I think, are we done the
Yeah, I think we're done. I think we're done the old rundown. Why is FSLR flying? Out of curiosity, somebody tell me that. Why is First Solar going?
FSLR.
It's not really flying. Never mind. Someone in the chat just said FSLR flying. It just made a move. I don't know. See, this is the thing. I don't know that I would define First Solar as necessarily flying here, but it is breaking off the bottom, because this was a dog all day, not all morning, all day. It just broke out and went like $1 change on this breakout. It's not a huge amount of volume. Like, you guys can see the lack of volume spike here, so this could just be, okay, technical break, and maybe somebody got trapped that was maybe shorting it all the way down and got a little too aggressive, and they just had to cover a bunch. But I'm not really seeing much follow through yet, nor is there a bit of a story. So maybe worth keeping our eye on it there. I just saw Mr. John in the chat mention that, and I pulled it up, saw the spike. I'm like, wait a minute, where's the volume on this? Not really seeing it. So maybe not worth a bit of a chase, but you're looking for things like this. Like, what wakes up in the afternoon and gives you a chance to trade off of that? I think Tesla's trying to go, but if it can't get past that 260, 250, I feel like those optionable levels today on something like Tesla, it's got to really run past those. I still have my Apple looking for that 185 bottom to bounce off of from the morning.
Yeah, Tesla 260, 250 is exactly where I am short at the moment, looking for the failure of that. If we take out this high at 262.69, I'll probably bail, but maybe I'll see what happens up to 263. I got small size for now, looking for a little retracement move. Tried it off 262, that didn't work. So 262.50 is the price, that options price that we've been talking about. If it holds this, then probably going to 265. So not going to want to be averaging into this on the way up or anything. That's not how I trade Tesla. That's not how I trade anything. So yeah, we'll see if it breaks down now or if it goes up now. That's the idea on this one. Same thing with Microsoft. If we do get through that 345, I want to take the fail break of 345 on Microsoft, so take the long back through. It hasn't gotten through 345 today. That is 345 even low of day today. So wanting to see a kind of a bounce, kind of just like AMD yesterday, I think it was, on the midday. It was doing a consolidation like this all day, breaks down, can't follow through, right back up. It ended up making it to 125, 125.50. Yeah. I was long 122.50 and I got out 123.10 or something, thinking that was just a little scalp play. Apparently I was the bottom on AMD yesterday, but we are trending down again. So possibly, same style of trade on AMD is available right now. That 120.50 providing support at the moment. If this fail breaks to the downside, once again, people are shorting, looking for continuation. If it doesn't continue, they're going to cover. So we'll see. Maybe you get that same style of trade back through 120.50 on AMD today. Obviously, like, really weak on it, but it's the exact same move as yesterday, basically on AMD. Fades off the open, finds a base, and then consolidates, fail break, take it back to VWAP kind of thing. I don't know that Microsoft is getting back to VWAP at 349, but anything's possible, I guess.
I'm skeptical on that one.
Yeah, pretty skeptical on that one.
Anything's possible. I always have a thing about, like, if you make the top or bottom wick on a stock in the wrong way, like if you make top wick, if you're long and you make top wick, that's obviously great because you basically sold at the top. But if it happens to you in the other direction, it's easy to be like, that's the worst possible thing I could have done. But the way you should be thinking about it is the point at which you made a decision was the right place to have made a decision. So
exactly.
That is the first and sometimes the most important thing about trading. By the way, Cava is back above VWAP and trying to break its 41. I don't know if I want the clean break. I see some size above 41 at like 41.10. Oh, that's a crying shame, Prad.
Oh.
Ooh. Prad got those kick-ass fries, and he just spilled like a third of them on the floor. That sucks, man. I feel bad. You never want to waste good food. Sorry about that. Sucks. What was I saying? Yeah, so Cava's trying to break 41, but if you were making a decision at exactly the right time. So that decision could have been, okay, if I get out, I'm looking for a quick re-entry because that level's still valid. Maybe I only want to take half of it out. There's so many ways that you can trade around that level better. I have to hold it a little bit further. All these decisions that you could actually end up making around that price, where you just had a raw stop there, and that's fine. Speaking of decision-making prices, this would be Apple, and the only price I had to make a call was at 125 this morning. So I was long it twice. It got to VWAP. I was constantly looking for it to break out. It didn't. Held on to some for the home run, and now I'm just right back into this off of the 185 level. So I might make a bottom wick here at 185, but I'm going to do the same thing where I scalp out in front of it. See this, and this is how you know Prad's the man. He just spilled a bunch of his fries, and he still shares some of them with me. Like, seriously, like that just
What a
makes
great guy, that Prad.
Oh, a great guy. Like, seriously, like, I mean, I didn't expect he was still going to because that's his lunch, man. I appreciate you, brother. So I might get stopped out of Apple. It does mean Intel probably starts to work for me because I got Intel off the high. I got 46 short, stop at 50, risk of 5 cents. Once it goes 5 cents in the money, I start taking it out at 1-to-1. But if that happens, Apple's probably going to take out the bottom on me. So yeah, whichever way this goes, one of these two with both tight stops is going to be wrong. With any luck, I can scalp them both out, and then they can both be a bit of a win. But that's what I'm looking for. Playing off key levels this afternoon, that's what it's all about. And if we hold 85, great for Apple. Again, these options on a Friday, like we get to these prices and we're kind of bouncing away from them time and time again here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still watching Microsoft at this 345.
You want one?
No, thank you. I already had an apple fritter today. That kind of broke my rules already. So
it's Friday.
Can't be eating Friday. I know, but then there's going to be beers after the close, hopefully. Oh, seller on Tesla here. No, thank you. Seller on Tesla. I might have missed it. Maybe they got filled. There was 300 lots on multiple gateways on the offer there at 262.10. I guess they are gone, but maybe you can assume that selling interest is still there because I don't see a volume spike here. We'll see if we can break this 262. Right now, holding the teal. I honestly don't even want this to get back above 262.35 at this point because that is like my long setup for Tesla. So I'm not going to hold this even to break even anymore. Looking for the breakdown now or never. Microsoft's still trading below that 345, so probably not going to take that break back through, but maybe we'll see what happens if it does want to test that 345 price. Look for size back above the level. Not a ton of volume going off, but this is a big volume spike on the day through the that 345 price. So you know that there's clear interest there. So if you know that there's interest there, you know, you could probably structure a trade on the reversal of that level. Where's AMD at as well? So AMD has wicked its little price there. We'll see.
That's so weak.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to take AMD, and Tesla's coming back up. So I'm just going to go ahead and punch out of Tesla there, take a 15-cent win or whatever that was, whatever. That looks like it wants to go up, so I'm not going to hang on to that. If we do another reversal type trade on it, like we break that 262.70 price and then slam back down through 50, then you could probably take that one back down, adding through 262 and trying to get to 260 VWAP. But yeah, for the time being, we're holding the teal on a move to the upside, looking potentially to break 263 on that Tesla, as Microsoft is really just
holding the teal. I like it. I tried. This is like the closest thing I had to teal. It's not really.
I looked at the teal shirt this morning, which is not really teal, but it kind of looks like it's teal when it's on camera.
On camera, it looks like teal.
But I wore it last Friday, and that's kind of, you know,
what?
You can't really repeat.
You can do whatever you want to do.
I
that's
can't
one
really
thing.
repeat.
Yeah, you can. You really can. I think everybody actually appreciates it. I think it's fun. Like I wore this shirt because if you watch the morning show, then you already know this, and apologies for repeating it. But like the entire reason I wore this shirt today, because I got this new key, so I can do this.
I love that. That is sick.
See, that was, and now that's the only time I hit it too. So I'll probably never use it again, Fabian, unless I'm wearing the shirt. So once every couple of weeks, I'll actually use that key for you guys. I'm not as stylish as you, Max. I just kind of try to keep it real. Oh, Intel's now going back up to the top. This could still end up a breakout trade, by the way. Like if we take out 36.50, I do want to break this one out to the top. And I'm still keeping my eye on Cava. If you're waiting around for that 41 to break, Cava just bounced off 40 even. Well, it's trying to bounce off 40 even. So it got all the way up, tested 41, nothing, but still higher lows. Kind of fading off a little bit more aggressively when it gets up here. But if you keep the higher lows going, I think you're setting up for a 41 break. The fact that we just bounced off 40, if this bounce off 40 takes us right to 41, and they just go for that breakout, you're probably going to get a fill. Yeah, I mean, you take a 41 break, you're probably getting a fill better than 10, like 10 to 15 at the worst, I think. So risk to reward probably setting up. Get right out if it doesn't hold 41, and then just sort of see what happens. Every dollar on the way down has been significant, so I think you got to respect every dollar on the way up, and I mean that literally. Like 46 was a thing, 45 was a thing, 40. Like it's every single even dollar was a dead-on hold. 41 was the only one. Like it didn't bounce off it that much. It actually bounced shy of 41, and then 40 was a big breakdown. So if you break 41 long and you don't want to take any profit in front of 42, more power to you, but it's probably going to run into some resistance, even if it's just temporary at that price.
Yeah, that's the thing with those IPOs. Like they don't have levels, so every even dollar are the only levels that you can really consider on it. And like that 46 high from, or I guess it broke the high in the afternoon. I stopped watching it and it ended up breaking out like $5 or $6 or whatever.
I wish I stopped watching it yesterday. I really do. Like it's just, it's weird. Like if I didn't have it up in the afternoon, I would have been able to save like an extra part of the day there. Like it ended up being, like what I was down yesterday was basically, it was because of two things. Like I think I overtraded NVIDIA, and which is weird, like the directions I had was pretty good on NVIDIA yesterday, just my execution sucked. And the other half was Cava. And if it wasn't for the fact, that Nikola made that huge flush, and I happened to have the top, it would have been like a disaster type day. But I just kept shorting the stock. And I even took it in the afternoon. Like I could have just left well and good when the short was okay, but I was shorting it on that move, and there's just no need to. Because unless you're willing to keep on, like unless you're like, this is going to work off the high, and I'm going to keep going at it, because you have to have this. If you're shorting on the way up, the only way it works is you're taking this and you're losing. You're taking this and you're losing. And then you're taking the top and you're getting the big win. That is the only way those things work out for you. If you're not willing to go for it, tight stop, look for the home run, that's a style of trade. And if you go for it once, go for it twice, and don't go for it the third time, it's going to suck. I'll give you the exact example here. Why not? We're kind of a teaching show every now and then. I hit enter on Nikola. I don't understand why this. So this was Nikola yesterday, and if you shorted here off 50, it broke. You shorted off 60. The only other available curl was $1.80. So if you did, which I did do it on Nikola, I actually only shorted it a couple of times, but if you had the top, that's how it works out for you. You've got to be willing to just wait till an inflection point, take your shot at a counter trend. Wait till an inflection point, take your shot counter trend. And when it goes even more parabolic, well, the reality is a move like this, if you're not willing to put on a bigger trade here than you would here, it doesn't work. Because there's more potential for the winner here, and your stop's at the high of the day anyways. So you should pretty much, if you're not willing to do that, you shouldn't be trading that counter trend, because whatever you like here, you should like a little bit more there with a tight stop, and you should like a heck of a lot more there, and then still have that same tight stop. And if not for that one, I would have had a much worse day yesterday. Not sure why I wasn't trying to short it today, though. That's a bit bizarre.
I just tried the Microsoft trade and instantly rejects that 345, so instantly out for me. Looks like Microsoft wants to trend down today. I mean, it only wicked like 03s there, so maybe you could try it again if you really wanted to. I'm not going to do that. That's a one and done style for me, especially like when I've been trying so many times on Tesla, the same kind of style of trade. The chart is just failing you today for whatever reason.
I tried to get rid of that wick, get rid of the wick on Apple there. I was going to show you guys the Apple trade. Now I just have to zoom in because I have all these wicks off 180, underneath 185. So Apple just bounced off 85. There's your little scalp trade in there. So it gets up, cannot even get to the quarter. Don't need that offer in there. If we break this now, I guess I'll try to hold through 35. Like decision point at this level, make a decision up here if it goes that next like 10 cents up on the move, reload right in front of 185 if I can even get it. And the more times it gets down here, the closer to 05 I actually want it. So I had like 20s early, I had 6s there, I probably take 2 or 3 here, and eventually it probably breaks out the bottom and you lose 6 cents. Or maybe like 10 cents at the most. That's just how it is. And that's the style of trade. Now we're right up at the top here on Intel. I have not reloaded this trade because there's no size on the offer. Like there's 36.50 is just another level on Intel, which is a bit weird. There's nothing on this. Can I quickly throw this over before it breaks? So what I mean by that is you look at this, like where is the, like there isn't even anybody sitting at that level. You're just sitting there with like 50, like a couple of thousand shares there, pretty much nothing. So the first thing I did is change my stop to a midpoint stop. If you trade at Day Trade the World, essentially the way a midpoint stop works is instead of it breaks 50 even, there's no size. I don't want to have a stop when there's no size. So if it breaks that size, prints one single order at 51, you can get triggered. If you use a midpoint stop, it actually has to put that price as the mid, meaning it's got to break 51. Like 51 has to get taken out, and you're probably getting slipped to 52, but it does mean that it's broken through 50 with more gusto than just ticking up there and making one set of fills. And when I don't see a lot of size up there or interest at the level, that's not the time that I want to get wicked out. Because there's nobody's really trading off that level, getting out of position. I'm just going to give it the extra percent. That's also why I'm not reloading it. So I'm not adding to my position because I'm opening the stop up a little bit and just giving it that extra little bit of a tick. It could still top out, but you just want to give it a bit more room based on the price action. Without a level 2 or that other key, you're probably not going to do anything differently, but I have the ability, so we're going to. And you can see that's the difference. So now I'm out, now I'm reversed. The difference is you end up with 52 instead of 51. That's it. But if it ticks up, breaks 50, and never really prints 51, you're still in it. I would rather give up 1 cent the other way than not get wicked out at that even level. Either way, I'm now long Intel and long Apple. I got to find a short somewhere else.
Tesla, new high of day, 263.50. Tesla absolutely exploding to the upside. So that breakout of the consolidation was the way to go. I think that you mentioned that one in the rundown, that you liked that potential breakout over 262. I liked the fade. Clearly wrong way today.
Well, I didn't
on Tesla
take it,
me.
so it doesn't matter.
Fair enough. But yeah, what a long there. And I think maybe if you're watching this, I wasn't at the computer at 1 o'clock, but you see this little breakdown into 260, can't break 260. That's kind of where you can get long on this one in the middle of the day. I haven't been watching if this, I'm not thinking that this wick is real. It's got to be a consolidation kind of dark pool thing, but you get long here and you're just holding it for that potential move up. 260 being the inflection point, very likely on the day on Tesla. Are we going to Brendan?
Well, I got 2 longs, and neither one of them is that Tesla breakout, so you can tell how happy I am over that, because Intel, whatever, it's back at 48. I'm going to give it like 6 or 7 cents, maybe at most. Apple's okay, but it's definitely not Tesla. But guess who we got? We got Mr. Frank Caberna. I think it's the first time I've said Mr. He deserves it. Why not? Mr. Frank Caberna at the desk with Brendan.
We'll make it formal around here on a Friday afternoon. Yes, let's recap, shall we, what has been a pretty wild week as far as the overall market is concerned, as far as stocks are concerned, but also as far as the interest rate situation is concerned and inflation. Frank Caberna is senior content strategist over at IG in Chicago. Great to see you as always. A day late, but it's worth the wait when it comes to Frank. Thoughts, I guess, generally across the board here. It's been, I guess, as expected. The percent was telling us it was going to be a hold. We get a hold, but the indication of not 1 but 2 additional quarter-point hikes to come seem to be taken as a positive. So the overall market seems to be focusing now on, okay, well, if there's only 2 more to come, that means the end is near, Frank.
Yeah, and first of all, thanks so much for all the kind words. Yeah, I think I might be the first person that needs to be referred to as Mr. wearing a T-shirt almost at all times. But I appreciate it from my friends over here at Trader TV. But I'm a little facetious here with the idea that the U.S. underwhelms and the euro overwhelms or exceeds expectation. I guess, because, yeah, at the end of the day, both of these central bank meetings, although the U.S. held and the ECB hiked, both were net hawkish, I would say, which means that both were alluding to future higher interest rates, and markets loved it. I mean, stocks were up both on the FOMC day and up on the ECB day, something that you wouldn't have expected last year. And you and I have been kind of, honestly, I think on the first wave of this new trend that's been going on since I really think the regional bank crisis was the turning point here, where higher interest rates, essentially higher economic data, be it inflation or GDP or what you want to look at, non-farm payrolls, leading to higher interest rates, has been a bullish idea for the stock market recently. And so, yeah, the Fed does let down, so to speak, by not hiking interest rates. But to your point, looking like the July meeting will be a hike and then potentially more to come. And NASDAQ liked it. Gold rallied a little bit, not so much. And treasuries, in terms of price, moved higher, but now are actually moving significantly lower as the dust has settled and everybody thinking interest rates higher, but also stocks higher, not giving any ground. Any of the bearish activity we saw in our major indices, Brendan, was quickly done away with. And I think the worm is turned, so to speak, on this higher interest rates, lower stock market. It's now both confidently moving higher.
Yeah, and in lockstep at that as we head into this long weekend here. The one negative on the overall week then obviously going to be the dollar, the DXY, down big time here. I've been going out to the weekly chart every time we've shown it on the show throughout the week, just to kind of emphasize, you know, the size of the move, one, but also the fact that we're just kind of working into that consolidation a little bit further, coming back into, you know, going back to, I mean, it was winter levels at this point, but pretty weak. But that has not only the euro higher, but everything else right across the board back to levels we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah, and I want to focus on the euro just because the ECB just met, and it's a more direct conversation this week. And next week, I think we should talk a little pound, because Bank of England will be meeting next week, and they're expected to hike 25 basis points as well. But you're exactly right. Dollar getting hit against almost everybody. And I have to say almost, because Japan, once again, cannot pick up any ground on U.S. dollars. Bank of Japan met last night, and they said they have no interest in raising interest rates. And the yen is getting absolutely annihilated compared to USD, but especially compared to euro and British pound. But here, looking at euro versus dollar, you see that big rally coming from yesterday and now trading comfortably around 110. And these are the highs since last year's big fall off in euro, big rally to 20 or 30-year highs, depending on what forex market you're looking at. 20 to 30-year highs in U.S. dollar. We're now getting back to the lows in that U.S. dollar as we were going into that big run up in the middle to latter part of 2022. And the interesting thing here, Brendan, is you look at a chart like this, the last year's worth of action between euro and dollar here, and you see the big 100 pip rally in the last 24 hours. Oh, we're back up to 110. This looks like a price extreme. There's a lot of ground that this market could cover now to both directions, really creating an interesting inflection point for this market. And that's why rates and forex are so hand in hand, because now the race will really be who can hike further, faster. If you're trading interest rates or foreign exchange, you're trading kind of both of them in tandem, because you see this big rally higher in the euro, Brendan, this week. And it's almost all because the ECB hikes 25 basis points and the Fed stands pat. And now if the ECB hikes another 25, the Fed doesn't end up hiking in July, you'll see more US dollar downside. But if the Fed can get back to the lead that they once had over the European Central Bank and the UK central bank, then you might see this US dollar resurge. But right now, it really feels like 2022 was the year of the dollar. 2023, for right now at least, is becoming the year of the pound and the euro.
I want to dig into that a little bit further in the sense that if you're watching the press conference going back to Wednesday with Fed Chair Powell, he made a point of going back on a question that was asked to him during the Q&A regarding interest rate cuts, in the sense that, you know, he doesn't see any actual interest rate cuts for going out a couple years, I think was the actual language that he used. But then he made the clarification of real rates, meaning the actual Fed funds rate minus inflation will change and fluctuate as inflation comes down. So they want to maintain that restrictiveness as they've been talking about. So not necessarily cutting interest rates right across the board, but they have to maintain that current restrictive rate. So yes, in a sense, it's looking that way, but there's still more. There's going to be more movement here, both directions.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And this is why you and I, a lot of people at home are probably sitting there asking themselves right now, what the hell is this guy Frank talking about? And sometimes we'll jump on and you and I will chop it up about inflation and interest rates and what it means for stocks and foreign exchange. They all move hand in hand, and a very astute observation to point out that exact moment, because we've been talking about inflation so much because it is really the driver of interest rates, and interest rates have been driving technology stocks in the stock market lower until about a month or two ago. And now inflation driving interest rates higher has been kind of driving the stock market a little bit higher as well. Recently, they, to your point, have been moving in lockstep higher. And now, here, I'm landing the plane here, inflation has been higher in the Eurozone and in the UK for the last pretty much 12 months. And I think a lot of forex traders have been waiting for a little resurgence in the euro and in the pound. And I think it's finally those two central banks in the euro area and in the UK finally being like, oh, maybe we can hike interest rates past the US. Because, yeah, you just saw the odds there, 67% chance that the US hikes in July. You might say to yourself, well, U.S. rates are moving higher. The U.S. dollar should be appreciating, and on down the line with the way that those relationships work. Yeah, absolutely. But keep in mind that forex moves on rate differentials, and if we pull up the longer term chart here of the euro and look at some of the movement around rate differentials in the past, we saw the lows in euro versus US dollar, the highs in US dollar, when the difference between interest rates in the US and in the euro area were 2%, 200 basis points. That difference now is within about 100 basis points. And if the ECB can hike 2 times in the next few months and the US only hikes once, that's a euro appreciation story and a US dollar depreciation story, even if the US hikes interest rates. And then you talk about Fed Chair Powell's statement of, yeah, we're not looking to cut rates, but we are trying to keep rates around inflation or keep that real interest rate level, you know, around 0 to 200 basis points. If inflation in the US comes down to 2%, 3%, and U.S. interest rates are still above 5%, I think that Fed Chair Powell is leaving himself the room to essentially cut interest rates without cutting interest rates, because in the last, actually probably the last like 20 years or so, the Fed has only cut interest rates because of stock downside, because of economic downturn. This might be one of the first instances where interest rates are brought lower. I mean, hopefully, this is what the armchair economists and the people teaching at schools are hoping for all the time, is that interest rates come down, not because the stock market's crashing, but just because inflation is kind of under control. And if we get inflation more under control here in the US, I know it seems counterintuitive, if we do that faster than the Eurozone or the UK, then the US dollar is going to continue to devalue.
Yeah, and in a roundabout way, probably what he was attempting to deliver as far as a message anyways during that press conference. But really interesting point during that conversation. You brought us a chart going back to Tuesday, I believe it was, having a look at the S&P 500 versus the yield curve and highlighting the fact that the last two times that we saw the yield curve significantly inverted, it wasn't until we got back above that equilibrium for the yield curve that we saw the sell-off in equities come. It's not getting any better, Frank, as far as the yield curve is concerned.
No, it's getting worse, and this is why we talk about all these things. I know the audience out there is big stock trading one, obviously, but they're also intertwined. And yeah, we talked about the last two yield curve inversions preempting the last two major stock market crashes, and we've been inverted in the yield curve now for well over a year. And those two prior inversions, we are inverted now for longer than they existed in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then in 2007, prior to the financial crisis. The yield curve inversion is bad, Brendan, and it's gotten worse in the last couple of weeks, funny enough, as the NASDAQ races past 15K. This is the worst inversion since 1981 here. But to the points that you and I just made around Fed Chair Powell and the out that he's leaving himself to cut interest rates, and remember that the Fed controls short-term interest rates. This yield curve inversion is occurring because short-term interest rates have skyrocketed past long-term interest rates. That's why the 2-year, 10-year spread is negative, higher interest rates for 2-year versus 10-year. And what Powell left himself an out for, and what everybody at home is hoping for, whether they know it or not, is inflation gets under control, interest rates come back down to 2%, 3%, somewhere in that range. This inversion unravels itself here to a normal yield curve, and the stock market doesn't need to crash at all, because they always talk about how yield curve inversions predict stock market crashes and what have you. I don't know if they predict them, but inversions occurring almost always happen because inflation has risen and short-term interest rates skyrocket to fight that inflation. And then usually they'll stay inverted until there's a reason for short-term interest rates to come lower. And so it's almost like a chicken egg situation whereby did the inversion come out of the market because the stock market crashed, or did it cause the stock market to crash? Right now, obviously, NASDAQ racing to potentially new all-time highs in the next couple of weeks here, the inversion getting worse. But Fed Chair Powell, he's obviously aware of all these things. All of these central bankers have so much more information than we do. If they can control inflation and he can bring interest rates down to 2-3%, and the 10-year and 30-year stay around 3 to 4%, the inversion can undo itself without the stock market needing to crash. But yeah, right now at almost 100 basis points of inversion, the worst since 1981. Definitely a little bit of a spooky environment.
Yeah, more to come as far as how this is going to, as you said, unravel itself and play itself out to get back above not only inversion, but doing so without any kind of major catastrophe or something else breaking will be a pretty good achievement for the Fed if they're able to do that. Great stuff. Frank Caberna, Senior Content Strategist over at IG in Chicago. Have a wonderful long weekend, sir. We'll talk next week.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thanks, Frank. And yeah, Mr. Caberna, always welcome here. Whether it's a Thursday, whether it's a Friday, we appreciate him for sure. There's this stock, this Ball stock, BALL in the New York, while we're with Frank. They're selling off their aerospace business for $5 billion. So just $5 billion. Yeah, so this is a decent mover here, probably worth a bit of a watch. We actually need to have it. It does so little liquidity, normally speaking, that it's actually blocked at Day Trade the World. If a symbol does not have enough liquidity, doesn't do enough volume, it ends up being blocked. We're going to have to put a ticket to make this one unblocked and look to see if there's any low case to be able to trade this. But yeah, it's absolutely running. I think when we put it in the chat, it was at like 56.5, and now it's at 58. So big time runner here, BALL. Resistance up here on the daily at about $60. I think failed breaks up here could get interesting. While we were away, at my one line in the sand, got broken in Apple. Here I have to zoom right back in so I can get rid of these wicks for you guys. So there it is. I got one fill up here above 10 on my reload, and then it broke down. You can't really see, like there's my arrow getting out. It then popped back up to try. It popped back up to try and take 85 again, and I got the short at 94, which on a day like today, I just want to take some out at the 3/4. So trading off of one level all day on Apple, nothing else to do. Just long off the 85. I guess you could have shorted 86 as well. It's been the dollar levels on Apple. Whether it was this morning, you really should have been short 86 the way this has been trading. Quite frankly, that's how we should have played it. But yeah, 185 is all we cared about. Intel ended up being a mess. Took the breakout trade. It ends up stopping out, tight stop. It actually rejected. So if I jump back into the short, maybe I'd be in the money, but I did not. I elected for 185 short on Apple. What else is moving here? So ball going crazy. I don't know if we'll be able to trade it. I hope we can get that one unblocked. NVIDIA rolled over big here. It just felt like it had made a top, but I kind of was hoping we could short a pop in NVIDIA. It looks like it wants 130 any second now. Wow. Yeah, the market is now testing the lows. The NASDAQ's now down 0.5%. So I think now that you're through these lows, really you're just trying to find some available shorts. How is Intel popping back up? I never want to be in a situation where I'm flipping. Like if I flip once at a key level, I don't mind that. Like you're short off it, then you flip to a long. I generally don't love like flip-flopping that much that I would jump back short, but we're beneath the low of the day now. So I just, if it sets up, I feel like you should do it. So I'm going to see if I can't get a little something on the offer of Intel here. Yeah, if this doesn't work, it's not like I'm going to go back into the long, but we're breaking down, and there's availability here off the high of the day. And I'm not really seeing anything else at a key level that I like.
Yeah, the market has decided to give it up. We're still above that 15,250 on NASDAQ that I was talking about this morning, if I can bring this chart down. Yeah, these overnight lows have been given up kind of on NASDAQ, but we still have this 15,250 kind of price that I think could be very supportive if we do end up getting down there. Obviously, volume right now is not anything particularly crazy on this witching day. I guess they're saving it all for the closing auction today. But yeah, Tesla, you know, I was a little impatient getting short on this name. Clearly, when Tesla wicks the high by 10 cents at a key level and then comes right back in, you should probably punch back into the short on that one. And I did not. That would have been a $3 trade right there, sadly. But, you know, that's what you get when you go too early on these ones. I'm not suggesting that Tesla's done for the day. I think that, you know, we chop around that 260 price. If we do get down there, I don't think we're breaking down necessarily, as quite a few names are now getting off the bottom.
Don't look at AMD.
Oh, AMD.
AMD just gave, like, so here's, you have to see the volume on this. If you're ever wondering what a long setup off a false bottom looks like, it's this. That 120 break on the biggest volume candle, is it of the day? I don't know if it's of the day. I mean, it's definitely of the afternoon. Like, biggest volume candle, wiping out the even dollar level off the bottom, and then immediately retaking it. That's a 1995 bottom for a one. You get back long in front of that with a 5-cent stop underneath, or maybe you get 10, so it's a 15-cent stop. That's what we were just talking about for failed breakouts and failed breakdowns. Like, that's perfect.
Oh, that's
if you're watching
45
AMD.
cents now.
Yeah, that's gonna suck for my reentry and my reentry into the short in Intel. Even though the market was breaking down, NVIDIA bouncing like this, that is not going to bode well. What did NVIDIA do off of 430? So it wicked 430 as well at exactly the same time. And I'm going to have to watch out for Apple as well. And for anyone asking, Adrian's asking, why is AMD falling apart for days? Some of it has to do with NVIDIA's strength, and maybe the market was a bit underwhelmed by the event that they had, where everyone was expecting to see a real challenge put forth by them. To NVIDIA, quite frankly, when it comes to their AI chips, which NVIDIA's been dominating, and everyone was hoping and betting that AMD was going to come out with something that would blow everybody away. It looks like that didn't happen. I'm not enough of an expert to tell you whether or not what they have is good enough, but the market has essentially decided that it wasn't enough to carry through the high. So I'd say that and a technical rejection of the 130 level. leads you to this, which is back down to 120. But that was a gorgeous entry. You got to be watching the stock. Like if you're on a stock when you see that happen, it's 120, it's Friday, you see it break, and if you're thinking at that moment that you're, okay, it's support until it's not, you're not jamming short, you're thinking about the re-entry. That was my thought on Apple actually, was initially, like I'm not short on the breakdown of Apple. Like you can see it pretty clearly. Like I don't short it until the way back up, because when it's breaking the first time, my first thought is, if it breaks and immediately holds, I'm jumping right back into the long. That's my first thought off a big level. It's not that it's going to be an instant reverse. When it does hold through, make a little low, try to press back up, not get back up to the high, then I want to short the stock. Now, to me, it's a short at that level because I've confirmed that there's sellers underneath it. So obviously that did not happen in AMD. You have a great setup for that long. It doesn't mean it doesn't go back and retake the low of the day. But that's a gorgeous little setup for that long. What else we got here going on here? Yada, 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 yada. Oh my goodness, Cava. I thought Cava was going to be cool today, this afternoon. But there's no 41 break to be had. That's broken back down again. Underneath 40, you can see it consolidating underneath there. Liquidity's drying up. I suppose this one might be done until the next time we trade this is probably going to be earnings or the IPO lockup.
And I expect it'll be at a drastically different price, whether that's upside or downside. I recall, what was the last one?
Well,
the J&J spinoff. I don't remember what it was called, but
Kenvue.
Kenvue, yeah. I think that one.
Well,
I'll pull it up right now, but I believe it's trading way higher now. Oh no, this is like the exact same price. Maybe was there an Intel spinoff? There was some.
You're thinking of Mobileye.
Yeah, Mobileye.
Mobileye did really well.
Did really well.
Really well. Now if only Intel would stop, like do not sell part of your stake again, please, and thank you very much, because I just got the greatest entry of all time into the stock. So I didn't buy the IPO because at the time, everyone was like, the market's not looking very well, but blah, 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 recession, blah, blah, the market's going to fall. Everyone's all bearish. Well, you're not going to want to get in an IPO at that moment, so I wanted into Mobileye. I'm like, okay, well, it's a bad time to IPO. It's probably just going to fall because everyone's bearish. And the stock, it started coming down. I'm like, this is it. It's going to break 25. I'm going to get this thing in the teens. I'm going to hold it forever. It never got to the teens. And then it started like ranging up, and I just didn't pull the trigger. I'm like, no, the market, I'm still bearish in the market, blah, blah, blah. Didn't pull the trigger. And all this way up, I didn't pull the trigger. And then they had earnings. I'm like, this is my one chance to get into the stock, to buy the dip like a cheap bugger. And they did Huadunk on earnings right into like 35 to give a setup. And then you know what happened. Intel decided to raise some money by selling part of their stake. They sold, I don't know, it was like 8%, and now they're going to need to raise more money probably. Where else are they going to get it from? So that's what you run into. It was so strong of an IPO before that. Anyways, that's just Tony Price. I don't know the answer to your question. Why won't my option order fill when it is lower than the current option price? I do.
Then the current price or the bid price? You got to take a look at the bid price.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean,
I don't trade options. I don't know.
No. I mean, to a certain extent, they tend to trade a little bit the same way off like a level 2. So
yeah.
You want to make sure you understand like the bid and the ask, right? Because you can there's where it is, and there's where you can actually get a fill. Those are two different things, right? Like if you're, do I have where is it? Yeah. So like this is trading. I don't know. I happen to have Intel up. Why do I have Intel up and it's a Mobileye time and sales? What is going on? There we go. Like you can be sitting where it's trading, but there can be nothing going off on the ask, let's just say. Or you can be trying to catch the bid. You could be at the bid, and it's not really anybody filling you. So you got to understand liquidity at that point and actually catching a fill, and then getting that liquidity through you. So sometimes it has to move through your price. That's one way to think about it. Speaking of move through your price, Intel's about to move through my price at the high of the day. So
everything else going down, and Intel's the only guy going up?
The break doesn't work. I just don't want to get chopped around in this way too much there. And yes, Wahid, the market is closed on Monday for Juneteenth. So happy Juneteenth to everybody. Go and watch the Dave Chappelle sketch if you haven't already done so. Shout out and thank you to Jack for the $20 super chat. Still new to the channel. You guys are awesome. Neil is a goat. Thank you very much. I always say Brennan's the goat.
Yay, 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 yay.
That's a sheep, by the way. I don't know why when we did a goat animation, sheep got, it is what it is. Like I don't make them and I'm not an artist, so who am I to complain? Would be awesome to see bro with a mustache. No.
Have you ever had a mustache?
I mean, technically, yes. I have had what some would consider to be like stuff that's in front of my face that's a mustache. However, the reaction that generally happens when I try to grow a mustache leads me to no longer grow a mustache. My brother has kick-ass facial hair. I just can't do it. I don't really pull it off very well. It's just terrible.
You can't get the big, like, thick.
No, I can't.
caterpillar
I
thing?
can't do a legitimate one.
Fair
What I would love to do, because you guys can tell by the ball cam that I'm getting older, what I would love to do is like that whole bald look where you just kind of have like it's like the full like under facial hair and then you go bald
and
up
like
top.
totally bald up top.
Yeah, I'd love to do it, but like I can't really connect it and grow it all that well. So
Yeah,
that's
that would
just
look
how
good,
I roll.
actually. I like that.
What was that? James Harden beard? No chance. My brother can do it. So if you for Halloween, I told the story already, but for Halloween, Sean and I were dressed up as for Pulp Fiction, essentially, right? So Jules and Vincent from Pulp Fiction, and I had to like wear some fake stuff to be able to pull it off. But my brother did the same thing. We have the same genes, it should be fine. He just grew his hair out. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, he grows like a beard, no problem. Mustache, kick ass. He's not balding at all like my older brother. He's also 6'2". My brother grows kick-ass facial hair. He's 6'2". He animates children's cartoons for a living, and he's a salsa dancing instructor. There's absolutely no jealousy on my
I don't think
standpoint.
you have anything to be jealous of.
And then when I say that,
you are an absolute legend
shut the hell
of
up.
the day trading world. I don't know, man.
I tell people that, and then people are like, "Is your brother single?" He's not. It's like, don't even try. Don't even try. Like, my bachelor party, I didn't want to get started. Like, it was my bachelor party, and my brother was like, it was ridiculous. We're at the club, and he's just there, and like everybody's around him. I'm like, that's great, man. Remember me, the guy that's actually getting sauced and getting married, and it was just all him. And no, he can't trade. It's actually, we're very opposite, as a matter of fact. Like, he's pure art, super, super talented. He hates math, even though, like, it's weird. Like, he's a very good chess player. He just hates math, and he hates numbers. But the dude, like, I think I'm like 1 in 1,500 against him lifetime in chess. So 2. The first time we were kids, and he let me win. And the other time I beat him was at chess club in high school, and then I said, I'm never playing you again.
Good on you for still trying.
You're only as good as your last match. That's what I told him. I won, and I stood up, and I'm like, you're only good as your last match. I'm now better than you, and we're never playing again. That's how I roll. Market's
Nvidia
breaking
just
down,
gave
though.
up 430.
Yeah, it just did.
It was holding there for a bit above.
I'm adding to Intel, forget this.
Now we're breaking down. I mean, honestly, if you like the level to the long side, I could see the case for taking it back up if you don't think the market's going to keep going down. But I don't think I like that trade anymore, not at this time. We are getting that volume spike to the downside, though. These come on, zoom in.
Get in the short.
These last few candles have been higher volume candles on the day. So maybe, this is the volume bottom on this move, but you could also make a case that volume is now picking up to the downside and they're coming in to sell the stock. I am not going to take a bet either way on NVIDIA, just based on, I don't know, I don't think that there's edge there at the moment. I feel like volume is very light overall, that the decisions have kind of been made to this point, and maybe we just kind of leak down into the end of the day and continue this trend. But yeah, we'll see what happens with these
You know what was
ones.
frustrating there, actually? Like, as that was all breaking down, I looked over. I tried to grab some more Apple, pretty much it was right back in the 90s. I'm like, okay, let me try and get that, and it's going to flush and break the low. It didn't even do anything. Like, it popped. Like, Apple went 10 cents there. Everything broke the bottom. 15.3 went on the NASDAQ. NVIDIA broke the low. Tesla broke 260. You're right back up. So, like, this is the kind of situation. It's like, okay, if I had added back in, the play would have been to take 10 or 15 cents. Because you're right back up top. Of course, I add to Intel. That's a much tighter stop up here because it's already sitting in that range. I guess maybe that is the play. If I can get something in the 90s and just still give it to 185. Like, what other, like, there's not that much available here. You could have just had the Tesla breakdown at 260. I had a quick look at Cava, thinking, hey man, that stock's weak. It just rejected a fresh high. Maybe we're taking a breakdown there. It broke 39. It's right back above. So snap under, run some stops. It is trap zone central. Like, what did AMD do at 120? AMD at 120, holding 120. So that flushed, held 120 at the bottom. That's a higher low, by the way.
Still can't get through that 120.50 price that it was kind of consolidating at before. So I'm wondering if that was maybe what am I saying? Opportunity to reload the short if you want to get short on AMD on that breakdown. But until it gives up 120 and starts trending down, I feel like you might be sweating a little bit there. Nvidia now back above 430, but barely. Can't really get a bit above 430. So I'm not really seeing any edge there. And Tesla, as I said, it would still chopping around that 260 price. So I feel like 260.50 on Tesla is inflection today. It's really kind of traded above when it's above 260.50 and kind of traded below when it breaks down from that spot. So I think, if you're short, you sit in this up to here, which, I mean, that is basically VWAP there at that 260.50 and has been for most of the day. So yeah, Tesla just kind of chopping VWAP all day, interestingly enough. No wonder I haven't been doing so well on these large caps today. All of them just, well, not all of them. The ones that I was trading just chopping around and range trading, which ain't my style at all. I'm always looking for the move. So
there's so many things out there that it feels like it's just trap running stops. So
yeah,
if you don't have something with, I think, like a tight stop or an obvious risk like R&R, just don't take it. That's why I'm kind of just still messing with Apple here in the low 90s. I know I'm only going to end up risking 10 cents in change, and then if the range is going to be 15 to 20 to the bottom, then that's an available range to be traded. I can hold on to a piece of it for a bigger flush. I'm not even sure I should be messing with Intel here. However, that ball stock, baller for life. Nah, the Lavar's in it, anyways. So it's kind of slowing down here. There we go. Consolidating off of that top. Would be interesting if it can hold the bottom and maybe make another run at the high, although we actually still can't trade it, believe it or not. So
I did try to punch in twice.
Yeah,
above 58 to get short, but
I tested it to see if I could throw an order. I still can't.
Yeah,
but Nikola, believe it or not, Nikola is all the way back down to the teens. So, and again, crazy. I don't have a terribly good explanation for rule number one. If your best trade of the day is if it's long NVIDIA today, you should be looking for opportunities to go long tomorrow. If your best trade is short Nikola at the top today, then you should be looking for. It's just not saying you have to, but you should probably be doing it. But we're right back into those teens where this all started. And I saw in the chat someone put that in. I'm like, yeah, this is probably worth taking a bit of a stab if it gets any closer to $1. It was great off of 110 previously. But let's go to Brennan. He's got something for us.
Just watching NVIDIA here, not much of a reaction. There was a little bit of volume that came in there on a note suggesting that ByteDance, guys, has already ordered 1 billion worth of NVIDIA GPUs in 2023 so far.
A billy? Yeah, that's a few. That's a little bit. Those things aren't cheap. And wow. The other thing NVIDIA has going for them is essentially to the software that you use for these. NVIDIA is becoming the standard essentially, and that's just further dominance for them, because this is not the situation that you had back in the day when everything was Intel this or that, which is going to blow at the top here, and I'm short. That sucks. When everything was Intel, it didn't matter if you wrote something on Intel. You could write it on one, and it would convert over to AMD, no problem. With these AI language models, you train it on one. You have to make the conversion. It's a big pain in the ass to go from one to the other, and that's why part of the reason I think there's so much dominance here. There was something else I wanted to get at about Nikola. Oh yeah, that's right. So the only reason where'd he go? Damn it. So the only reason I was something else I was going to mention. I wasn't in Nikola just yet, but there was just 500,000 shares on the offer that is no longer there. So I didn't see a fill. So I'm not entirely sure if somebody just got taken out or whether they pulled their order. But that was the reason I wasn't looking for the long just yet, because there was a big order on the offer. And you can see what it's doing down here. It's holding the low at 115 and then not moving. And I saw a big offer there. So if that's real, I don't want to be long until it's gone. So yeah, it might have been fake. I have no idea. It could also be an iceberg order or something of that sort. But yeah, you're consolidating off the low. It's probably worth a bet Like if it breaks out from here, I mean, you could have an 18 long. Yeah, it is on the offer at 18. There you go. It wasn't 17, it was 18, but because this gateway is on every single level, I don't have depth of book on my axe apparently. Yeah, so I don't know, it was a little bit bigger, but now you see the 420,000 share order probably needs to pop through that. So when you see something barcoding, every now and then it's dark pool orders, sometimes it's just utter nonsense, and other times there's just a person that wants to sell a lot of shares. And it's not going anywhere until that person gets their fill. So that's what's happening here on Nikola. You could maybe consider a 17 short scalp to 16, but given that it just made that wipeout bottom, I don't like that risk to reward. You're basically trying to make the spread, but then you're losing the spread and paying a fee to get out. So I wouldn't take that trade unless I thought there was room for it to go a little further down.
We got that super chat
right.
from Fernando Romero. Beers for the boys. SPCE sick fade sell the news event. Clearly sell the news event.
A little bit.
Well, I mean, we're still up 15%, but we were up 40 or something crazy this morning. I don't know that we set up this fade trade necessarily for you, but congrats if you got it. I think we were looking for 60.50 for a failure.
I wanted 50.
I wanted 5.50 to fail break off the open, which it did kind of do, but doesn't even give you, $0.50 off that one. So yeah, SPCE can't even get past VWAP all day. That's that orange line, which is kind of thin on this computer for some reason, but just bounces twice off VWAP, gives you that reload off the 50 period. Slams down about $1.50 off that. Did it get through 6 this morning? No, it doesn't.
No,
So it doesn't even give you the fail break off 6. It won't give you anything to the long side.
That's sort of the problem. Like we wanted like 6, 650, didn't really, none of those were available in the break. I did take the bounce off, like that first bounce, and it looked like it was gonna go. Actually, the weird part about it is I keystroked out of everything here, and that ended up being like a really good decision.
Yeah.
And then I ended up reloading it like really tight to the bottom. But sometimes when you keystroke out of everything, you just jump right back in. If I had done so, I would have been going long at 560 instead of down here. Like that would have been really bad. So that was a bit of a fluke. It was trending down anyways. But the day that I don't short Virgin Galactic is the day that it does this, right? So just go up. Yeah, if that stock gaps up and my initial look is to try to take a dip buy in it, it just never should be that. I should just always doubt the stock. So Apple, once again, in front of 185.50, so 185 down to 184.80. I didn't get a reload there as I was being distracted by that size on Nikola. That was foolish. But I'm going to try and reload Apple, I guess, as many times as it wants to work. Although, wait a minute, let's sniff this one out for a second. That's 2 higher lows. Now all of a sudden you're not breaking 90 on that last read. So I didn't get this reload, and it's stalling out. Instead of going 20 cents, it's going 10 cents. And the NASDAQ's back above 15.3. So that's a pretty sizable move back to the upside. And we have a higher low here. Now I'm not going to reload this a third time. Sometimes it's just easier to know when not to make a trade, right? Like it's easy to overtrade. I could just go rinse and repeat this forever. But this isn't flushing from that level. And if the market wants to make any kind of a sizable bounce here, all I'm doing is losing like 5 or 6 cents for no reason if I add back in the high 90s. So I'm not going to do it. If I see it run the top and stop me out or get to the top without breaking and then show me the weakness, then I can jump back in the other direction. You don't have to force the issue here, especially when you're going against the grain. Friday, that's when you want to preserve capital. Make sure you do so. Meta push, I see from Santoro 11. That's pretty meh.
Meh. Oh, meta. Haha.
Look at me. That's you guys can groan all you want. What are you gonna do? If you wanted good puns, then Prad will give you some good puns every now and then. I know you'll probably come up with some. Sharif might give you a good pun here and there. Sean and I are like, we'll give you dad jokes. That's how we
sometimes
roll.
that's all you need.
Do you know why it's like that? Because your kids will laugh at everything you say. And they think it's the funniest thing ever. Like it's amazing how like I can tell the worst joke of all time. Like, oh my goodness. Where did George Washington keep his armies? Where, Daddy? In his sleeveys. And she dies at that. It just slays over and the same joke over and over again. No effort whatsoever. So why would I make any effort with a pun? She's gonna laugh anyways until she stops, and then I'll I'll be that old depressed guy. It's like, ah, crap, my daughter doesn't laugh at anything I say anymore. So Apple, I decide not to reload. Might have been a bad decision, but one I can live with. If it makes a fresh low, I'll look for maybe like 184.70s. It doesn't seem like we want to move too much here today. How is it 326 already? First of all,
That was a fast closing show, wasn't it?
Yeah, see, Frank, I think Frank, what ends up happening is like Frank comes on, he drops science, and then you just sort of like get into that mode where you're just listening to Frank and you don't realize. It's like, okay, I'm still learning. It's pretty active. It's all good. What else we got going? You guys are running the slots up there. Nobody wins that slot in the chat. By the way, if you want to play a little slot thing in the chat, you have to be a subscriber to be in the chat if you're listening, and then you do like that $sign. I'm not doing it because I've literally lost 5 times in a row, Bears versus Bulls. Like if I go, watch, I'm going to go 5 here. I'll go slots, 5, because I'm only going to do 5. I lost like 50 points like 3 days in a row. And then you're going to see, like, I'm just going to lose. Like eventually, now if everyone's going to spam it, then I'm not going to see it when I lose. You got this, and I lost my 5 points. The professor, and you lost your 5. Everybody I just said 0 wins here. Like, is there a way that YouTube can make that game so that somebody actually wins it every now and then? Because it's fun. I like the idea. Like, we can trash talk, and then someone can actually win, and we can be happy for them. There goes Apple. Right decision to have rang the register and not reloaded the trade. However, if it fails break, I can always just jump right back into it. So no need to overtrade it. All you're doing is putting more on so that you can eventually lose it at that price. Show me the weakness underneath 185, and I can jump right back into it. See, now everyone's just playing the slots and losing. Who do you like in the U.S. Open, Max?
In the U.S. Open?
Someone wants to know in the chat. New York Jets in the chat. See, even though I hate the Jets, I'm still reading your question. How about that?
I'm always a Rory fan, but
Okay.
he never brings it on in the majors these days. I mean, he's always like top 10 or something, but he never comes through. Brooks Koepka kind of.
He's legit.
He's really stepping up these days. Maybe Brooks Koepka, U.S. Open.
There it is,
Big
Brooks.
All-American guy.
All of your money on Brooks Koepka, and if it goes wrong, then
Yeah, you can just blame me.
this is Max. What's interesting about it is like nobody knows your address, but everybody knows exactly where we are. It's not that hard to figure out where we are in Toronto. So, quite frankly, if you lose the bet, it's not that hard to find you, Max. I'm just saying. We've
not
had
financial
random people
advice.
just show up.
we
and,
have.
and sort of walk into the floor. Hey, what's up? You have a visitor here. It's like, okay, that's great. What's
And he
up?
wants to kick your ass.
Parsa, no, seriously, Parsa, you don't mind me saying it, because Parsa showed up one day. He's a trader on the floor now. He showed
Oh,
up
yeah?
one day after market and just wanted to chat. He's like, yeah, I heard about you guys watch the show every now and then. He was sitting, after market, he was sitting in Sean's chair and we were just chatting.
Really?
And then like a month later, he's trading on the floor. There's no camera shot for Parsa. He sits right over there. He's been on the midday show a couple of times.
He has,
So
he
you
has.
might have seen him.
So the opportunity's there, guys. We'll hire anybody around here to sit on the floor behind us.
We'll hire anybody.
Well, I mean, they hired me. I'm looking at NVIDIA right now.
To us for that.
So it does that fail break of 430, but then just comes right into this 431 area, which has been kind of a key spot on the daily. This is where it kind of blasted off from earlier and just can't get through 431. So then we roll over as the market the market did end up rolling over as well. So, NVIDIA, you can get a little dollar move out of that, but you're probably risking like 60, 70 cents. So not the greatest R to R on that 430 play there. But I mean, if we hold 429, I don't know. I just feel like anything that's trending is just going to keep kind of evaporating to the downside here. If I guess evaporation goes up, so not evaporating.
Yeah. Melting to the downside.
Yeah,
Melt down, evaporate.
But
up.
meltdown kind of sounds like it would be like a big situation.
Well, yeah.
Dripping to the downside, maybe?
Dripping. But dripping
Leaking?
sounds like it's leaking is maybe better.
Yeah,
Dripping's
leaking.
not enough. Leaking's a little better. Meltdown is pretty extreme.
Yeah, meltdown would be extreme, I think.
You ever seen the Chernobyl? There was they made a TV
documentary?
show. I don't know if it's a doc. It's like a show.
Oh, yeah,
based on
no,
it.
I never saw that one.
It gets hard to watch, but it's a good watch, I would say. You're really, really shocked that there were people in the world that are, I'm one of those, and you probably tell this. I'm one of those people that I know myself. I know I'm not that brave. No, seriously, it's
Yeah.
just that ain't me. Like if I'm saving like my family or something like that, yeah, I'll step up. You get that when you're like a dad. It happens. But no, I'm not that brave. Like I don't think I can be like, yeah, whatever. I'll just walk out there and I have no idea how much radiation there is. But we're gonna clean it up, and that's what we're gonna do. Wow. So be happy. When people tell you that nonsense about how like people are good in the world, like shut the hell up, man. Like there are people that literally are going to walk into a situation that they know is killing them to save others.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me there's more bad people in the world than good? Get the hell out of here. Like, come on, son. Come on, son. Like you watch that and you're just like, wow, these people exist, and I'm really freaking glad that they do because I'm not sure I could do that. Apple back above 185. Good thing we didn't get back into that. Intel is now breaking higher. Did you actually look for a re-entry? Okay, Tesla long off 260 was pretty good. Are we really breaking upside here? I do not necessarily. And I get it, Aaron Yeager, there are good and bad people in the world. The good just vastly outnumber the bad by an exponential margin, and that is always going to be true. And I don't care what anybody says. What else do we got going? And yes, there's a different kind of brave day trading, Ponzi, and let's be real, it's only money. There's things a lot more important than money in this world. So yeah, there is a sense of like you're taking risk all the time. I get that, but that is very different than risking your life, right? Like, let's be real.
Yeah, numbers on a screen is very different than.
I'm not running into
physical.
burning buildings, bro.
Yeah, me neither. Well, unless there's a family member or something
exactly.
in there. Maybe Prad.
Like I'm not George Costanza or anything. I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea. Like I'm.
I said I would run into a burning building for you, Prad.
You would?
No.
He bought me fries. I probably would actually. Prad dropped his fries on the floor, and still, whatever he had left, he still shared some. So I would go into a burning building for him. And you bought me an apple fritter today.
I did.
So, I mean, quite frankly, I would for you too. So there you go.
I owed you the apple fritter though.
I didn't remember that you did, so you could have gotten away with anything. Should we short Encino? Santoro says.
What's Encino?
You know what's weird? I have not even thought about this name in a long time. I do know they have deals with like, who is it? They had a big deal with TD Bank or something. I want to say. So this one is going, would you short it after it's already continuously halting up? The problem at 330 with like halt plays like this, if you want to fade it, is you better be pretty darn sure. Right? Like my approach to this type of a thing, 330 on a Friday, is 40, 50, right? Like that's all you're thinking about. As a matter of fact, on the off chance that it does, let's just, yeah, we got locates. I just wanted to see if we actually had locates for it. That was a quick answer. I just offered 40 and canceled it. So yes, you absolutely can short this one. Brendo, what's going on here? I'm just asking him right now because Encino. I know the company. I'm just not sure what's happening. I can slide over to my Twitter bot, but I'm not really seeing anything in my feed, so I might just drop a search. If you guys already know what's going on with Encino, you guys can let me know. NCNO, we're live. I was just checking out
Report
Ball.
of takeover interest.
Oh, that makes a heck of a lot of sense.
And I mean, it's kind of a smaller float,
Yeah,
59 million
sale.
with 10% shorted. So
makes
people are
sense.
going to be covering on that news for sure.
I
10% isn't that big though.
I want to say a good deal of their business. I think, was with a few banks. They're big, like a cloud banking thing. And anyways, one of my best friends is in banking. I don't want to give his name or who he works for, but suffice to say that it actually makes some sense that they could get picked up. I wouldn't be able to decline by who, but yeah, I don't know if you want to short this.
The 3220 level on the daily chart kind of looks like the spot, and that's where we are right now. But
When you get deal speculation, like now all of a sudden, if you just sort of smooth this out, you're talking about probably a 25 average price on a 90 or 180 day, and then if you slap a 33% premium on it, you are looking at 33.
yeah,
So like that's just like that quick. Okay, well if you had to guess, and that's the average price, and the deal, that would be kind of like where you'd expect a deal to happen if it did, but it could always be more than that. And I don't really know any details on this just yet. So just be really careful. If you have it early, out in front of this level, I would suppose maybe you got something like if you're on this halt here and you got 30, 31 with a dollar stop, this is kind of where it should run. It could run out of steam, and it is just speculation. Typically speaking, you do see a reversal before the close on any deal speculation. Because does anybody want to take a flyer on something and then hold it over a long weekend when a response could come back, oh, by the way, there is we're not really looking to get a sale. There is no actual interest. Typically, people are going to want to ring the register when they get this. And there's longs down here, and there's longs in here. And then if you go out to the daily chart, there is definitely longs off of the 50 period that are like, thank you very much. I will be exiting stage right on a third Friday if I can get 33. It's like if you were swinging this on a breakout, you just got your target, bank error in your favor, and you got it in a few days. You don't think you're going to ring the register on this? I think you will. Oh, and by the way, remember Nikola that we thought could break off the bottom? This dude's still just chilling out. They really want that fill. And nobody wants to give him the fill. So that's my X. It's exactly the same size. No one is printing that offer. Every single upprint I see is like a dark pool, and it's not really actually hitting anything. It's all real red, and everything you see green has a D on it or is like 100 shares. There's no chunks going off the offer, so nothing is going to happen on Nikola till it breaks that. And yeah, as we see, there's your 33 breakdown. You should have just shorted it, Max.
Should have just shorted. Yeah, I mean, it did kind of wick that 32 level previously, so I would be nervous about that liquidity grab kind of buying that is starting to come in, but not really yet. I mean, I can see this being the top of this move, but yeah, one halt, two halt. Is it going to halt a third time? I'm going to say probably not. I don't know. I'm not seeing a lot of edge here. Probably, back below 33 would have been the trade, and you're risking, 33.30 break-ish. But yeah, now that we're down here in the 50s, probably nothing here for me. Maybe back through 31.5 could be a spot since that's where we wicked previously. 31.60 was the wick, I think, 31.55. So yeah, you could get possibly a breakdown trade through there. You don't let it print against you at all, and hopefully you get back into 30. But I mean, good news is good news, and we've only done 5 million shares of volume today, and there are 6 million shares short. I don't know. Do people have to cover? Do people want to buy on this?
Yeah, so the early look on the imbalance is tiny. It's only 254 million to buy. So for a third Friday, I would generally expect that number to be much larger in whatever direction at 350. Like when the imbalances do come, I would expect a little bit more than that. I don't think it makes a lot of sense that you'd stay on a small imbalance. It is, as we said, it is witching today, and it's June, right? So we're half year. Yeah, that was probably a good short in there. George DeMarco said that they are short 33 on Encino. And I think one of the things you said that it might got glossed over is a short 33. Stop not necessarily high of the day. Now, sometimes you stop these out the high of the day. Like if it was Nikola, really tight spreads, really cheap stock, you give it right to that high. There's liquidity here. On something like this, which has less liquidity and a bigger spread, if you give it to the high, there's probably added slippage. And if it breaks the local high down here, it's probably going to the top anyways. So if you stop out here, there's liquidity in between because there's people trying to short the high still.
Yeah.
So you're going to be able to get filled here and preserve your 30-cent stop loss as opposed to taking out the high. And if you think it's only 65, it might be 80 and it might be 90. So I'd always rather have the tight stop and assume that if it breaks that local high, it's going through the high of the day and it could halt on you as well. So a bit of a different stop on a liquid name like that. Roku apparently is going. I have no idea what Roku is trading. It's at 70 still. I don't really see it. See, this is one of those. Like I could have gone back into Apple. I should have stayed long on Intel. See Intel? It might be boring, but since it got through that 50, if you just really stuck with the long, it's just slowly grinding higher. Now 2.5% on Intel. Congratulations! It's just grinding higher and higher. It's not the fastest moving stock, but it is breaking out the high of the day when the market wants no part of bouncing off the low. Roku making a decent move in here, right into the imbalance. It's always tricky because at 350, when you are expecting there to be a lot of net order imbalances, that will shake things up. So anything that's gone a bit parabolic, just be careful because at 350, a lot of things can change. You can be sitting in the money in something and you might want to have a tight stop on it because at 350, you could see an imbalance come the other way and then suddenly it's like right back. These could be testing 70 even pretty quick. So, Roku could be one of those. And the other, good point there, Casey, because this happened to me. Whenever you have deal news late in the day, especially on a weekend, something like that, they could always halt the stock for news reasons. either to await a response or a confirmation of the story. I say this because it happened with Spirit Airlines, and I got trapped overnight. I was trading it just like this, deal speculation, deal could be coming imminent. It opened off a halt. I took the long trade. It was working, and then they halted the stock and never opened up until the next day. I did not make money on the position. I actually lost, and that is the risk. So if you are trading it, have it out in mind. It could, if it halts at any time, that is part of the risk too. It's not just that you're taking the position. You could get caught in this over the weekend, if they decided to actually halt it, news pending.
And I don't think I want to be caught in this either way, like short, long, like.
No, I don't.
What if they announce a $50 deal? What if they announce that the deal is not happening?
Yeah, but that's why, like as you were saying, like if you go 33 short to the high of the day, and then you're just trying to get that, you've probably already taken some profit when it goes a buck in the money.
Yeah.
You're willing to work out of it. You're not really trying to hold it forever.
No.
Right? So you're just thinking about that quick in and out. As a matter of fact, if I had taken some out here, I'd probably be taking more out here just because it's 342. Like it's at support and it's another 6 minutes and it hasn't done anything. Well, you got working against time at that point as well. So congrats if you got that short. It is worth keeping in mind. And George saying they're out of Encino there. NVIDIA still just chilling at 430.
Meta came off the bottom though. Someone in the chat was saying they were long Meta. Interesting volume spike here at the low, basically. This candle up. I don't know if this is a dark pool wick or whatever, but that's a pretty big green candle, and that's a pretty big volume candle for a stock that hasn't been doing volume like that today. And curiously, that is the bottom of this move. So, I mean, I don't know if that's something to read into, if there was a big order there that might have got filled on the offer, and then it kind of blasts off of that. But makes the move back to VWAP, a couple dollars. That's not a bad trade there if you were long. And that Encino did just wick down to 31.50 again.
Do you know? So you're not going to believe this. I'm not going to. Don't look. Don't. I said don't.
Okay,
I said
I'm not looking.
don't look.
I'm not looking.
Where do you remember when Randy came by in the morning and was like, "Yo, Lordstown today, guys. Everybody look at Lordstown to the moon."
Yeah.
What are you thinking? Remember that was a $5 break.
Yeah, there's the $5 break, got to $6. The $6 breakdown was awesome that you had.
What do you think it is?
I don't know, 520? Lower?
No?
420.
Oh, come on.
420.
You gotta be faster than that.
420.
420.
Oh my God.
So if you bought this on the way up at Randy, I got trilled out at $5 on this thing. But we were talking about this. This is another thing about this trade. So this trade and Cava, two very different ones. There was lots of liquidity on Cava when it broke 40, and it got a 96 fill.
Yeah.
I didn't have full size on this, but on a 6 break on a $6 stock, I got slipped to 590. 10 cents worth of slippage on an even dollar break on a $6 stock.
Which is terrible.
And I wasn't even full size. So basically, if I had taken more shares, I'm getting filled in the 80s or maybe even the 70s. That means, like, the next time I trade this, because remember, this is a reverse split. So it was a reverse split. I want to say, reverse split. So not a big float. A breakout or a breakdown trade on those, you've got to keep that in mind, because if you try to go full size, way more slippage than you expect. So it was good. It's just that if I tried to load in and it didn't work, the risk is way more than you think. If you take that breakdown thinking you're getting 95 with a 10-cent stop, you might be shorting 75 with a 50-cent stop. And those are two very different things when you're trying to pick your share size. So that was a good trade, but it was one that was probably not as scalable as I would have thought.
Yeah.
That's worth noting. I forgot to mention this, but you're going to trade off. Sharif actually wants to join for the close here. So
special treat for you guys. Sharif on the close.
So thank you very much for filling in.
Of course,
and
anytime.
thank you for the apple fritter.
Of course. Have a good weekend, everybody. I'm going to head off. Sharif's going to jump on here for me.
And Brooks Koepka is going to win the...
Brooks Koepka for the U.S. Open here. A power golfer for the Power Golf Tournament.
That guy's a bit of a beast, man.
He's an absolute beast.
So come back to me for a quick second, and then we'll let Sharif kind of get set up. He's going to join us for the close here. The last 15 minutes. Everyone's saying, bye, Max. Have a great weekend. You guys as well. Thank you guys for all the love. NVIDIA to 420. I mean, I doubt it, but that would be pretty poetic if it did, wouldn't it? Like, we just see 420 everywhere. You know what it's all about. Like, 420 happens. It's just that we notice it a little bit more often when that happens to be a level. But, here comes Tesla off the bid. Not really seeing anything that's setting up for even like a scalp trade at 350. So the imbalances are going to come out in 4 minutes, right? Once the imbalances hit, I'm going to expect to see a lot of bigger numbers than usual, just to preface what's going to happen here. So I'll have it up for you guys. Usually you're used to seeing what? Like a few of the big cap names, maybe a couple over 1 million shares here or there. Like yesterday we had a few extra. I think today more than that. So you might see some things that are like 5 million imbalance, like 6, 7, a few names you're not used to seeing out there. Maybe we see something on PanW, which is going to be added to the S&P 500. So there's going to be bigger numbers than normal. Right now, Apple's trading at an inflection point. Intel is just flying up. Now it's really starting to go. 36.75. I hate your guts. I got out of that long and should have just stayed into it. I doubt I take another execution unless it's going to be like a 350. Are you using your mic or the mic?
I'm using my own mic, guys.
Okay.
Are you okay?
No, the only reason I needed to know that is because I have a button that lets me listen to Brendan, but because you sit at the desk, it also listens to you.
Okay.
And if you hear the person sitting next to you in your ear when you're talking, it's a little bit crazy. It's a little bit weird. So 3 minutes till the imbalances come in. Encino, if you're joining late, Maya Ivanov there asking about Encino. There is some deal speculation for Encino. That's why it's up 25%. So there is the possibility that they could be getting a bit of some deal interest. I'm not going to say there's any deal imminent or anything like that, given what they do. Like they're a banking cloud company. What do we have? Meta says what? Oh, I just missed it. Meta said age lowered for users of VR headset to 10 years old.
Okay, well, interesting. Meta playing with
dropped.
that age again. They really better be careful with the little dalliance there they had with social media and younger participants. I always careful to go there.
I mean, that's technically good for them, more potential users, and when kids use something, they tend to spend spend mommy and daddy's credit cards when they can.
Well, but I don't know how you have set it up with your daughter, but my niece and nephew have a certain amount they're allowed per month that my sister has given them to spend on like anything electronic related. If that means like, and they have to. Okay, so I should have. My daughter's
6. She ain't spending anything online. She's 6 years old.
Yeah, but they're a little older than that.
Hell no.
They're in high school.
Okay, that's different.
And the only way to earn that is you have to do chores, and there are chores taking off, each one with a different value, Neil.
That's all I'm talking about.
Yeah, and so those ones got to be earned. Anyway, so it's interesting the way my sister set it up. It's loving, yet it's technical, and also...
Your sister and I think alike.
Yeah. What are we doing here on these markets? Are we going to hold 15.3 on the NQ, or what's the look here? So
imbalances in 1 minute.
Yeah.
I mean, see, this is the thing. Like from 15.3, if imbalance is a few billion to buy, we probably hold it. If it's a sell, we probably reject it. We'll give it to you live because that's how we roll here. All we ask that you do here, Day Trade the World and also Trader TV Live, is hit the like, hit the subscribe because we're doing it for free every single day, except for Monday because it's a holiday. Happy Juneteenth, everybody. So 30 seconds to the imbalances. We're expecting some numbers that might be a bit bigger than normal. So we'll give those to you. Maybe expecting something on PanW. Like Palo Alto was being added to the S&P. So that is expected to be a buy. It doesn't mean it has to come out a buy.
Dish
it could always come out a sell. Dish is coming out, so that could end up being a big imbalance. So in 10 seconds, we're going to get those. We'll bring it out to you and then see what happens. I cannot promise that there will be trades off of this, but what I can tell you is they should be some big numbers in just a couple of seconds.
Here we go. And
who cares about Siri? Oh, Nikola, 5 million to buy. We got Faraday's 12 million. Those are penny stocks. Who cares? Amazon's 3 million to sell. Rivian, 3 million to buy. I do not see PanW yet. GoEV's a penny stock. Who cares? Intel, 2.7 million to sell on Intel. What else we got down here? I'm just looking at all the big ones that I can find. Obviously, I'm scrolling through some other ones. Uber, 2 million to buy. Lucid, 2 million to buy. There it is. Oh, that's PacW. PacW's 2 million to buy? Okay. Okay. Yeah, good luck with that. I don't see Palo Alto in there, so I'm going to probably, I don't want to say Marvell's a sell. So that's pretty much all the big ones. If it's not well over 1 million shares, it's not that big. And I don't see Palo Alto, so I might do this. I don't know if you want to show something here because Meta just flushed. I didn't see Meta up here.
I'm basically flying blind because I don't have my other platforms here, so I don't really know what is moving. Yeah, Meta is trying to hold that 282 level. It is flat at the moment. It was very strong. If you recall, This one was the outlier in addition to NVIDIA and Tesla. This one was up 2+%, giving that back quite quickly, Neil, as we retrace here on these big cap names, 282 trying to hold up to the level. The ES, it looks like the ES is flirting with that 44.58, some buying coming in on that, now down 0.25%, Neil, on the future on the ES there. I don't know if buying stepping in here. Have we made the move? It's hard to compare the ES and the NQ. I haven't really had an opportunity to set up, but yeah, the ES finding a bit of a hold here. But independent names, I cannot know, flying a little blind. But Meta, all I know is it's struggling to get above 282 here now.
Yeah, I still haven't really seen a big number. PanW is like 900,000, so that's a decent size. It wasn't gigantic. I just had it up there. Yeah, the bigger names were all penny stocks. As this wants to load back up, there we go. It's all cheap names like Siri. Would you expect FFIE? I think you guys all know Faraday Future. That's a 50-cent stock. So when you think about it from a notional value, it's just not a lot. I know it's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of like actual like notional money in the market. Like a couple of people's buying power are going to move it. It did bounce to the upside, but maybe not enough to make it continue that go-y again penny stocks, mostly speaking. So it does feel like Nikola's interesting because of the squeeze the other day. So 3 million, even though that's not that big of a deal. It did have a bit of a push earlier. It got through that sell order got taken out, by the way.
With respect to the overall market, so the index itself, this type of
You're long?
no.
Okay.
I don't know why it's, with this type of move, you are looking for a particular specific name, or are you looking like, so for example, because it's a reshuffling from one equity to another. Right. That doesn't really necessarily affect the index itself because bought from here, sold from here, bought on here, right? So you're looking for a move in the specific name rather than the index?
You want a specific name.
Okay.
Now, what you can have, like an index move, like today, Brennan just gave us $1.2 billion to buy net order imbalance on the New York. So that's actually, on a witching day, that's not very big. Like if, on a normal day, a 1.2 million buy imbalance might give you a shot to move the market higher, but you're seeing we're actually still falling. Let me show my 15-minute chart here. So on the 15, we're actually coming off. Now, on a day like today, that probably the net order in the New York would need to be a few billion shares for you to be interested, because it just has to be definitive in one direction and gigantic. Today, that's just not a heck of a lot. On a normal day, 1.2 would be pretty big. As I mentioned, Palo Alto is being added. This is what happened when it came out of buy. Right? So if you were looking for PanW, knowing is getting added to the S&P. At 350, confirm it comes out of buy. Anywhere you were long in the first minute is $1 in the money.
I know it's being front run, clearly. People were buying from before that.
People were guessing. Now, the other side of that trade is two things. One, at 355, the stock could flip. That is certainly a possibility. At 355, you're going to get a big-time update. That's when they're going to lock some of the closing orders, and you could see a flip. So watch the price action at that particular time. Just be very, very careful trading. It's not automatic that it has to go up or that it stays a buy or anything like that. So just be really careful. None of these things are automatic when you really look at them. That's all. It's an indication. It's a possibility. It ended up that if you took this long, it came out the right way, and you're absolutely laughing. It's just not always.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I don't have too much experience with these type of trades. You know about them, you learn about them when you first start out on the floor, unless you practice them constantly. They're kind of like a little foreign to you, but good movement there from PanW as new replaces old, Neil, with the Dish Network, being taken out as legacy media. That is becoming less and less important as direct-to-consumer, Neil, becomes the dominant way where essentially, you're getting it directly from the source itself via the internet. And so unless you're rural and you don't have access to broadband, and that's becoming less and less important because of things like Starlink. So it seems to be phased out. Yeah, I got an ad on my Instagram telling me $199 Canadian for the kit, the Starlink kit, and then obviously the subscription service to that, but not bad. $200.
I can tell you anecdotally.
Breno and I were talking. I just want to say quickly to get my haircut and get my beard done, plus tip. I'm walking out there $100 less rich, Neil. So
you're getting robbed.
$200. Yeah, well, I am. The guy that I go to, I got to give him anyway. Whatever. Point is,
Your barber is a very astute businessman. Astute businessman.
yeah, you know, it's the area. But anyway, the point is, you know, $200 for Starlink, you're not that bad.
It's not bad. And my sister-in-law they live like way up north. If you think Canada's north, no, like my sister-in-law lives in like northern Ontario. It's like 6 hours north of here. So they got Starlink, and it is. Like,
how good is
we
it?
did like family Zoom calls, like before their internet was so trash, like they basically they weren't on the call. And now they're better than everybody else.
Wow.
Like it's just insane how good. That's anecdotal.
Yeah,
I don't really know anything else about it, but
I've heard different areas get different speeds, but you know, it's getting better with the more that they put up there. Anyway, they're little, they want to put it up on, they want Starship to get up there and start deploying these. Apparently, if you look at the animation, that is, well, the market's tanking, by the way, just FYI. But if you look at the animation about how Starlink is supposed to deploy these, it looks super cool. And the point is it can carry a ton of them, and the more that it can carry, the more the reach can expand of Starlink, and the better the connection will be. So that's the kind of the look there. But
yeah, exactly.
It's like pumping Elon stuff, and I don't really mean to do it. I just really like it.
Oh, yes, you do. You absolutely mean to pump
I don't
Elon
even own
stuff.
Tesla. Full disclosure, I don't.
How is that possible? I am surprised, but you literally were talking about how much you wanted to. Weren't you talking about a swing in Tesla?
Yeah,
you were
but
talking that recent breakout, the local breakout. By the way, this Encino stock, it is managing to hold up. So it's holding in that 32 area. Obviously, no halts at this point. 2 minutes until the close. If you want her to ring the bell, then quickly, if you want the lovely cat, Katrine, to ring the bell, well, then you might as well hit the like and subscribe because we're at 727.
Wow, I want to move down.
Into a market which is moving a little bit here at the end of the day. The market is flushing. I just looked at Apple. It's not doing much of anything. Tesla, that reversed pretty quickly. So that buy and balance evaporated right quick.
Right quick.
Like that was, they chewed it up. It was 1.2 million to buy. It got sold off very, very quickly. Tesla testing lows. NVIDIA actually seeing that roll over past that 430, continuing to the downside as well. There was a buy and balance. I mentioned a buy and balance on Nikola. Yeah. Well, that didn't last. So it went up. What goes up? Oh, come on, load. There we go. It got all the way from 13. That's actually a good trade if you had the break. I mean, 8 cents on a penny stock is essentially a penny stock is not that bad. But not a huge move over there on Nikola, and actually came right back in here. So under 1 minute to go. It's been a fun week. Remember, it is a long weekend, so we will not be back on Monday. And do not get trapped in overnight positions when you're a day trader, especially over a long weekend, because the market can get a little jittery. Anything can happen. I'm going to be watching, I don't know, I might take a little pan dub. We'll see here at the end of the day. I might do it just to take the auction fill. If I think it's going to be a good opportunity there. Adobe's at 495.
The ES Pro close as well, I want to mention.
No, it's not.
The ES Pro close, so now it's down 0.4.
There's size on Adobe, by the way, at 495. Not that it matters at this time of day.
Big move down to end the week. It's been a solid week, but we're going to give some back today, Neil. We're going to give a third back on the ES, and we're going to give 2/3 back on the NQ, but that's little. Considering how much we were up this week. I was looking, I think we were 4 or 5%, the Dow being the laggard. So that is it. How much do we have here? We got 15 seconds until the lovely cat got to ring that bell and take us into this long weekend, Neil.
Yes, sir. And there we go in 4, 3, 2, and ring it. And there you go, into the long weekend. Where is it? Where's the bloody print on? We'll see. There it goes. Where did it print? That was pretty lame on Pan W. Wow, look at that. What a monster move. So Pan printed like 10 cents.
Okay.
I'm out of position on that one, but every now and then you can get a bigger move. The trade there, I think, was probably to just go for it at 450. 350, sorry, when the imbalance did come out there. So not that bad. Thank you very much, Katrine. It has been an absolute blast this week. But we do need to make it official as to how the market ended up today. We knew sometimes you don't have a lot of action in the overall market, and you kind of saw what happened at the end. We were holding on to flat for most of the time. Let's make it official. How we end the day and week there, Brendo?
I was just double checking here, guys. We can officially make it 8, count them, 8 positive weeks in a row here for the NASDAQ. So that alone, pretty impressive, even with some red numbers to end things off, as you guys were mentioning. about 0.36, 0.31 there for the S&P and the Dow. The Russell, all three of them negative, 0.68, 0.67 there for the composite and the 100. NASDAQ, it was about 3.5, 3.6. It looks like on the week, though. 3.6% to the upside for the NASDAQ when all is said and done, guys.
Not that at the close. We'll have to turn that off. Not that crazy at the close, but definitely has been a fun one. Do not forget, you know we're here every single day the market is open, but the market is not open on Monday. The U.S. markets, I mean. It is Juneteenth, so happy Juneteenth to everybody. I think it's obviously an important holiday. I think that goes without saying. But that means we'll be back and seeing you guys on Tuesday. I want to give a big shout out to the entire team. On the ones and twos, of course, we got Fabian Alfredo. Mark is always handling issues over there. There's always something to be worked on. I see him. Mark doesn't actually sit down. You never see him on camera, but he never sits down all day.
Never.
He has a desk somewhere that I've never seen him sit in, because he's always up and doing something.
Sitting is the new smoking.
Big shout out to Obi for filling in on the midday show
killing
as well.
it again, and let me tell you, man, I love his insight when he's on the show. He brings me a completely different perspective. Love it. And yeah, thanks for having me on the big show, Neil.
Always, man. Of course, you know I got to give love to my boy who's getting the long weekend, Sean. You guys doing a fantastic job for filling in for him, but of course, he's always in our thoughts. He's back on Tuesday, of course.
Sir.
And thank you, Mad Max. Because Max and Prad, in addition to being amazing as a duo and on the show, both of them gave me food today. So they're my favorite two people on the entire planet.
The most important thing.
To be sure. However, what are the plans for the long weekend? What are you doing, Brendan? Tell me it's fun.
Let's go, Brendo.
I'm not doing much of anything, guys. It's been a long week. I've been battling something all week, so I'm going to sleep for 72 hours, hopefully.
Sleep for 72 hours.
That would be amazing.
I like it. Okay, I can get behind that.
I can deal with that. I can mess with that. If you get some extra sleep, lucky to you, my friend, because I'll be up at 6:30 in the morning, because that's how my
Daddy
daughter
duty,
rolls.
baby, it calls.
It's just they don't care. And as a matter of fact, she knows when she can wake up earlier on the weekend, and it's a pain to get her up for school, but in the morning on a Saturday, she'll be up bright and early. So yeah, it's gonna be a heck of a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much. For the entire team at Trader TV Live, that is Sharif. That's my man Brendan. I am Neil, and for Sean, we will see you next week. Have a good weekend.
See you guys.